Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for the Ministry of Tourism. Thank you, IMTM, for allowing us to have this futurism. Thank you, Oscar, for doing such a great event, interesting. We're really enjoying it. And thank you for our international guests that are here and flew from all over the world. It's not regular for us. So again, thank you very much. I would like to invite my panelists, please. Mr. Ami Ayalon from Get Taxi. Are you here? Great. Let's have you on stage. Adi Zellner from Wix Hotels. Are you here? Adi, yes. Thank you. Nir Erez from Move It. Where's Nir? There he is. You see, I'm bringing them. It's very unusual to have two ladies on stage and two men, especially in the digital industry, I would say. And last but not least, of course, Andrea Rosen from Eat With. Andrea, are you with us? Great. So you can sit just on the other side of Ami. Great. Everybody's got water. Everybody. Before we're starting with our success, and I'll take my place just next to them, I would like to share with you, because we have here again some people from Israel but also from abroad, 2 minutes about the success of the brand of Tel Aviv, how we see it. So when you're dealing of a brand, first of all, before you go anywhere, you have to think about the DNA of a city. And we like to refer to us as the startup city. These are the 66 families that started, and right at that place, if you'll go and visit this place this afternoon, let's move it, you'll see the coffee bar over there. Wherever you knock on the doors, you'll see startups, you'll feel startups, you'll experience startups. But when you're talking about the DNA of Tel Aviv, it's not only the startup city. Of course, we've got Jaffa, and it is, we see it as Tel Aviv, the old city, the most ancient port city in the world. The White City, another part of our DNA, the largest Bauhaus concentration in the world, UNESCO World Heritage. We are very young, wild, and free, 1/3 residents between the ages of 18 and 35. The New York Times called us the Mediterranean cool. Life is the beach. We're referring to our beach as part of our DNA. It's not the most important thing, but I liked what Adi talked before. There's a beach in Google. There's a beach in Jerusalem, according to Google. But of course, the beach in Tel Aviv is part of our city. We are the gateway to Israel. That's what you've got on your boarding pass. But still, the creative class, we want to attract them by referring to this DNA. So when we're talking about creative class, and I think you guys are going to refer it through your brands, you want to refer to talent, as Richard Florey says, you want to refer to technology, and this is why Tel Aviv has all its citywide free Wi-Fi and the tolerance. So all these things together, I think, bring it to the, is that the last one? And I think when you take it all in one concentration, it's Israel's culture center. And by the way, this is the Museum of Chulon, because we refer to our brand as Greater Tel Aviv and not only the city itself. But again, going back to Google, we look at Tel Aviv as Israel's business center. And these are the offices that you see around. So we're not announcing the winner now. We'll announce it afterwards. So after referring to Tel Aviv a little bit, we brought you guys over here because you're a success, but not only because, I'll move here, not only because you're a success, also because we think that Get Taxi, Move It, Eat With, Wix Hotels are a variation of sharing economy. And this is the next step that travelers want to feel when they go to cities or when they go anywhere around the world. I would like to start with you, Adi. Wix Hotels. What does it mean? Tell us a little bit about it.
I'll be happy to. So, hi everybody. I'm Adi. I work at Wix.com. Does anybody know here Wix? Yeah. Yeah? Maybe some websites around here also? Yeah, you have a website? A travel website? No? All right. So Wix is a platform for any human being to create his own beautiful website without knowing even one line of code. We are based here in Tel Aviv. We have more than 60 million websites worldwide. And what we saw a while ago, that after you scale, so the user base is getting really big, we got a lot of travel host websites. And so I called this guy, the American guy, and he has a hostel in Costa Rica. And he has a hostel website, but if a guest browses to the website, they can't book on the website. And actually there is a link to booking.com directly from the website. So I called him, said, hey Andy, I'm Adi from Wix. Hey Adi, you have a great website. Thank you, yeah, I did it like 2 years ago. Why do you reference from your website to booking.com? Said, well, I just manage my reservation with pens and paper. The cloud thing and everything, it's just not for me. So what we built with Wix Hotels is for Andy to have the ability to create his own website and a booking engine to get it, all the reservation in one place and have a direct communication with his guests without the travel agency as a man in the middle.
Okay, so thank you for that. First of all, now we understand what Adi does, because I think is Jordi around here? Jordi from Barcelona? Or Philip from Geneva? I don't see them. But because I think some friends among here are the first early adopters that can use your startup. I wouldn't call it a startup already. Let's go on to you. Nir? I think Move It, I don't know if to call it a startup or also already a success business. How would you refer to it? What is it? I think some of the people in the audience are not regular to public transportation.
Yeah, so definition of startup is for me a company that continues to grow very fast. We're definitely a startup. The fact that we reach already 15 million users and we're growing very fast doesn't mean that we're not a startup.
Again, the number?
We have 15 million users and we're growing in a rate of 1.5 million new users a month.
Wow, applause for that.
So Move It is, thank you. Move It is started as a public transportation application, and we didn't necessarily start it as a solution for tourists, but mainly for daily commuters, including tourists, of course. But if you think about it, for drivers, there are a lot of navigation solutions around the world, but there are only 900 million cars, 7 billion people. So many people are using public transit within the metro area. What Move It provides is the ability to get all the public transit data, trip planning, how to get from point A to point B, real-time information and navigation with public transportation within the city. As you can understand, public transit is hyper-local. So when we started 2 years ago to launch outside of Israel, there were already about 250 different apps for public transit around the world. None of these apps provided real-time information, and none of these apps actually used the crowdsourced data to improve the information. So what we do is we provide guidance today in almost 600 cities around the world. And with the information that started from the basic static data, including real-time information that comes from users who are actually navigating with Move It using public transportation.
Wow. So these are big numbers. I want to move from you, Nir, to Andrea, just at the end. First of all, going on transportation on a bus always makes me hungry. And not always I feel like going into a restaurant. And I think you really made a big wow idea. Tell us about it a little bit, because I'm not sure everyone is familiar with Eat With.
So I'm Andrea, I'm the head of global development at Eat With, and it is a global community of creative home chefs. And what they do is they create dinner parties or dining experiences for locals and travelers looking to get the most out of a dining experience around a communal table. And the whole idea behind it is really experiencing culture through food. So it's about being hungry, but being hungry for something more than just going to a restaurant. It's about being hungry for new people and interesting spaces and authentic food. And I'm sure most of you who are in the travel industry know that when you're traveling and you're coming across all of these tourist traps, so to speak, going to restaurants where it's a little too overcrowded with other tourists, you're looking to actually meet locals, because that's what really helps you to understand the culture, and that's what Eat With did.
Give us a small story behind the curtains. Like, did it ever happen that people came once to a house and they actually didn't like the smell, or the opposite? The hostess didn't really want to host the people that came. Anything like that?
Only good experiences so far, I'm lucky to say. But I do have some very interesting stories behind it. Someone actually did get married at an Eat With experience one time, spontaneously.
That was a cheap marriage.
Actually, not so much, but still, they were in Rome. It's definitely not a cheap marriage if you're traveling all the way to Rome. And they called their host about a day or two beforehand, and they just decided, okay, we want to get married at this dinner. So they called the host and they said, listen, we want to get married, we're engaged, and we just want to do this now. Is there any way you can get a priest at this dinner? She's thinking, I'm in Rome, of course I can do this. So she called a priest, and they got married at the dinner.
Wow. So let's go back from our dinner to the taxi, because somehow we have to get back to our hotel or to our wherever we decided to sleep. And I think Get Taxi, there's nobody in Israel that doesn't know Get Taxi. I mean, I'm not a technologic, I'm not a geeky, but two things I can't move without it. It's Waze and Get Taxi. So, Ami, tell us a little bit the story behind how it all started and where you're heading off.
Okay, so my name is Ami. The journey of Get Taxi started 2010 with the Shachar Weiser and Will Moore, the foundation. And totally now we operate in 4 countries. In Israeli, I can say gladly that we operate from the north in Kiryat Shmona. And this is a tip. Next week we are going to launch Eilat as well. So actually we are not coast to coast, but north to south. On Russia, we are focused mainly on Moscow and St. Petersburg. We have also a site in London, and tomorrow we're going to announce another good stuff in the UK. And Manhattan, as you all know, we have a big competitor, which is Uber. So we're launching in...
They're the competitors. I thought Move It are the competitors.
No, we are working together.
Of
We are
course.
partners, yes. If you click on Move It, you will find us as well. So transportation is, public transportation is, this is actually the things that we are sharing near and, Move It and Get Taxi.
Give us some numbers. How many users, how many taxi drivers, London, New York, Russia?
I can say that we have tens of thousands of rides per day, okay? And it's more than 10,000.
I know. Share it with us. You know,
I
they're
can say that we
beginning
have-
to be confidential when it comes to numbers.
Yes, I can say that we have the average of 50,000 rides a day, okay? And the target for 2015 is to scale up dramatically, okay? We should wait for tomorrow announcement, so keep your eyes peeled.
Can I make a marketing proposition over here? Can we promote Tel Aviv on your little TVs in Russia, in London, in New York?
I think that we are going to have some new WordPress, so there's things to talk about, but definitely it's going to be, the design is going to be more attractive, and you can find all our countries in those WordPress web.
Typical Israeli startup, working hard but doesn't share the numbers. Adi, Wix Hotels. Okay, so we heard about the food and we heard about the transportation. Give us a little bit the stories again behind the curtains, and where do you see yourselves in 5 years from now? Where do you think Wix Hotels will be, I don't know, 2020?
So behind the curtains, I think
Well, somebody gave us a marriage, maybe.
not a marriage, but I think one of the values that Wix believes as a company is to build the products with the people who will use the product along the way. So there are partners at each step. This means that once the product finish wireframes, they send it over to the potential user, and then we feedback before we launch. and we had some very interesting people. I personally tried to create this usability test in Thailand, but I didn't get any approval yet. I hope maybe next year. So the travel industry is actually moving forward pretty fast. The sharing economy is really disruptive, and not only Airbnb, we see it everywhere around. So 5 years in general in internet time is pretty hard to predict.
Airbnb is your partner or your competitor?
We are partners, and because let's say you have an apartment listing on Airbnb, each business will eventually have a website. So actually we're communicating together. So in 5 years we don't know how we will be connected, how many devices will be connected to each source, maybe our clothes, maybe our flights, so it's really hard to predict, but our vision is to help small business promote themselves without being dependent on other business as travel agents.
Okay, Nir, I'm thinking at all of your 4 startups, you actually, no one of you started for tourists, for travelers. You all started for a different issue, for a different motive, for a different need. How come you're approaching now the travel industry?
So as I said before, I mean, if you look at the amount of public transit trips on a daily basis in Paris, for example, it's more than 10 million. And there are like 35 million tourists a year. So it's definitely, we have more daily commuters than tourists. But what happened is that Move It Today, beside Google Transit, is the only global app. And when you're a tourist or when you're a business traveler and you move from city to city, then you have a continuation of one app that can take you from point to point. What I have learned during this trip with Move It is that once you have an app like Move It, public transit becomes an option. So we always encourage people to combine it with taxi if it's possible, but in a lot of places, you know, public transit is so sophisticated and so so strong in the city that, you know, all of a sudden it becomes an option, and now tourists, especially tourists, when they arrive to a new city, they know nothing about the public transportation system, and I think we bring a lot of people with the knowledge and the ability to move within the city in a way that they couldn't do before. When we look, you know, five years forward, it's way more than public transportation. I mean, I don't know if you have looked at the newspapers, but we just lately raised $50 million, and we had 2 very important investors. One of them was BMW, and the reason they invested is because they are now providing Drive Now, which is cars that they put in the cities in Europe where you can rent for an hour or so.
I must say they're very proud of you. When I saw a presentation of the BMW general manager in Munich, they put you right on stage. Move It.
Because BMW and SNCF in France, SNCF and Keolis also invested in Move It, they clearly see the future of public transportation and travel as something that will merge between public transportation and all means of alternative transportation like taxi, car sharing, carpooling, and I think that in 5 years from now, what I would like to see is that Move It becomes the omni search for the city. So you get out of your house, you don't have a private car, then you just want to go to a specific point. We're going to let you know what is the most efficient way to do it, combining taxi, car sharing, public transportation, or bicycle.
Right. Nir, how do you refer to that? To the tourism industry? Do you see it as part or more mainly to the local people?
As you said, we didn't start with the tourism in front of us, but one of our main goals is to be the preferred choice from getting around the city. So we continue to what Nir said, public transportation for tourists are the main thing to go from A to B. And we have this app, and I think what Adi also showed us in the last lecture, the mobile, the tap on the smartphone. This is all about. People want to have real-time information. So integration like Move It or other companies which we have on plan are the things that we are actually aiming for. And if you're talking about 5 years, 5 years it's it's a real lifetime in our field.
I know.
But definitely I can say that.
Let's make it 2.
Let's make it 2. Okay. So
2 years from now.
2 years. Yeah, it's more. So it's more realistic.
If it was
right?
Barcelona, it would be 4 years from now. But
Okay, but anyhow, if I can say that if now taxi might not be the most sexy thing, getting things can be on the smartphone, on a tap, as I said, on a tap with the finger. This is might be something that we'll reach for.
let's go for it. I
Yes.
love that. Okay.
This
And-
is the high-level plan.
Andrea, do you have Eat With in Geneva?
Yes, we do. We had a pilot.
You have it? Philip, are you aware of that?
We're in 35 countries now.
Okay, so, but they're quite, how would I say, conservative, or the expats are the strong, who are your clients over there?
In terms of our hosts or
Yeah,
our guests?
Both?
I'd say right now the majority of our guests are tourists, but we do get a mixture. We only have 2 hosts in Geneva currently, and we are recruiting more.
This is why I just wanted to make the
Okay.
connection. The tourism manager is right here, so you've got some work afterwards.
We're also recruiting if you want.
And I do want to use this before we close. I don't see everyone in the crowd, but maybe someone has a question, or this is the opportunity. Yes? Just quote your name.
My name is Iris. I'm the owner of my visual and personalized tourism. And I wanted to show you that let's connect all 4 of them here with one of the weeks of that interview in this project. The combined thing seems to be all those 4 people that say to tourism that touches the local community. And this is, I think, the future of tourism. Gets to know the people that you are visiting. And when you're taking a taxi, when you're eating with them, when you go to local hotels, and when you take public transportation, this is the future.
I told him to say that. Thank you so much. It's global, you know. This is what we're all going into, thinking global, enjoying the global, but feeling very local. This is how we want to do. We want to enjoy the Cuba soup. We want to enjoy the specific things that you can have. This is your opportunity now, either to refer or to ask, or because if not, maybe to my guests, any last remark that you think we missed? Because I think your success story is so successful that it just talks for itself. Any last remark for my guests? No? Okay, if not, then wait a minute, because our next panel is actually going to refer to 42 startups of tourism. They're just you are already in a success, okay? You can say a big V next to your names. But there are 42 people here in the audience. They're waiting for the next event. We launched, I think 2 months ago, the Mayors of Tel Aviv reward. So are we having a break, or are we going right? The mayor is going to step in a minute. So my guests, thank you so much to Adi from Wix, Andrea from Eat With, ladies first, of course, Nir from Move It, and Ami from Get Taxi. Thank you so much.